The transmission arrived on a Tuesday morning, traveling 47 light-years through the void in a language Earth's linguists had never encountered. Within 6 hours, the world's best AI systems and cryptographers had cracked it. Within 12 hours, every government on Earth wished they hadn't. "Primitive inhabitants of the third planet," the message began. "You have been discovered by the Vorkon's supremacy. Your world possesses resources we require. You have 2 choices. Submit to our authority and become a subordinate species within our domain, or resist and be annihilated. You have 1 rotation of your planet to decide." The United Nations Emergency Council convened in Geneva within hours. Representatives from every nation crowded the chamber, faces showing fear, anger, disbelief, defiance. For 3 hours they argued. Some wanted immediate surrender. Others demanded they fight. A few suggested hiding or fleeing to deep space. Then someone from the back spoke up. Nobody remembered later who it was, but they remembered what was said. "They want a war? Let's give them one they'll never forget." The response Earth transmitted was simple. "We accept your declaration of war. However, we request 6 months to prepare our forces. Is this acceptable to the Vorkon's supremacy?" On the Imperial flagship Dominion Eternal, Supreme Commander Thaxril read the translated response and laughed, a deep, resonant sound that echoed through the command center. His subordinates laughed with him. 6 months? Thaxril's mandibles clicked with amusement. These primitives want 6 months to prepare? He was a veteran of 38 campaigns. He had crushed the Zenthian collective, whose soldiers could regenerate from nearly any wound. He had shattered the Morvian alliance, whose quantum weapons could phase through matter. He had broken defensive lines that had held for centuries. In all his career, in all the Supremacy's 5,000-year history, no species had ever successfully resisted them. These humans would be no different. "Grant their request," Thaxril said, still chuckling. "Let them have their time. It will make no difference. But send observers. I want to watch their preparations. I want to see what these humans think will stop us." He was thorough, after all. He sent his 3 best intelligence officers to Earth's surface to observe. What they reported back confused him. "Commander," her chief intelligence officer said, her holographic face troubled, "they are not mobilizing their military forces as expected." "What do you mean?" "They are emptying their prisons, sir. All of them. Every correctional facility on the planet." Thaxril frowned. "Perhaps they need the space for military installations." "No, sir. They are releasing the prisoners, offering them full pardons for their crimes if they join something called the Frontier Force. Almost all are accepting." "What crimes?" The intelligence officer checked her datapad. "Murder, sir. Assault. War crimes from their various planetary conflicts. Torture. Terrorism. Mass murder. The worst criminals their species has produced. They're releasing all of them." Thaxril leaned back. This made no sense. "Perhaps they're desperate. They plan to throw bodies at us." "There's more, sir." Over the following weeks, reports grew stranger. Earth had divided its new force into groups. The first group, Tier 1, consisted of professional soldiers discharged for brutality, mercenaries with verified kill counts in the hundreds, special forces operatives deemed too unstable for normal service. The second group, Tier 2, was worse. Serial killers who'd murdered dozens, war criminals who committed atrocities that even Earth's governments found uncomfortable, the truly insane locked away in maximum security psychiatric facilities. Then there was Tier 3, but nobody talked much about Tier 3. Even Earth's government seemed frightened of what they'd classified in that category. "What kind of training are they receiving?" Thaxril asked during a briefing. His intelligence officer pulled up video footage. "This is from one of their training facilities, sir. We accessed it through their public networks. They seem to want us to see this." The video showed a large facility designed to look like a destroyed city. Human trainees moved through it in small groups, but they moved wrong. No formation, no organization. They scattered randomly, some running along walls, others diving through windows. They fought each other in practice combat, and the combat was vicious. No rules, no stopping when someone was down. One trainee laughed while another choked him. The one being choked managed to bite the other's arm hard enough to draw blood. They both fell away laughing. "What are they doing?" Faxroll whispered. "They call it chaos training, sir. They're specifically teaching them to be unpredictable, to ignore pain, to enjoy combat." Another video showed a classroom. A scarred human stood at the front, pointing at a holographic display of a Vorkon soldier. "This is what you'll be fighting," the instructor said. "They're bigger than us, stronger, better armor, faster ships." The trainees watched in silence. "So we don't fight fair," the instructor continued. "Fair fights are for sports. This is war. You see that armor? It has 17 connection points. You can't break it, but you can get through it. You see those weapons? They'll kill you in one shot. So don't get shot. Move. Keep moving. Make them miss. Make them afraid." One trainee raised his hand. "What if we get captured?" The instructor smiled, not a nice smile. "Then you make them regret it. You make them so uncomfortable, so disturbed, that they either let you go or kill you. Either way, you win. A live prisoner can escape. A dead prisoner becomes a warning." Faxroll watched dozens of these videos. Humans training in zero gravity by fighting each other with knives, practicing boarding actions, cutting into ship hulls to attack crews inside, learning to build bombs from common materials. "They're training terrorists, not soldiers. Terrorists," Faxroll said. "Yes, sir," his intelligence officer agreed, "but very effective terrorists."
Earth's fleet began to assemble. The ships were wrong. Military vessels were supposed to be clean, organized, painted in proper colors. These looked like they'd been built in scrapyards. Some had been. Earth had taken every civilian ship that could fly, stripped out the civilian parts, and welded on weapons. Primitive weapons, ballistic missiles using simple explosives, railguns firing chunks of metal at high speed, even more primitive kinetic weapons that just threw heavy objects very fast. Nothing sophisticated, but there were so many ships, thousands of them. And on their hulls, painted in bright colors, were marks, tallies, kill counts. "Sir," his intelligence officer said, "those marks are from before the war has even started." Faxroll stared at the images, a psychological tactic or a promise. The 6 months came to an end. The night before departure, Faxroll received one final report, an intercepted transmission from Earth's command to their fleet. He read it alone in his quarters. "To all Frontier Force personnel, you know what you are. You know what you've done. Society locked you away because you were too dangerous, too violent, too broken. We needed you locked away because peace required it. But now we need you for what you are. We need your violence. We need your chaos. We need you to do what no civilized soldier would do. There are no rules in this fight. There are no laws. There are no limits. Win or lose, you will never be welcomed home as heroes. You will never be honored, but you will be free. Show the supremacy what happens when humanity stops pretending to be civilized. Make them regret ever finding us." Faxroll put down the datapad and looked out at the stars. For the first time in his long military career, he felt something he'd never felt before: doubt. The next morning, his fleet departed. 300 ships of the Vorkon supremacy, the greatest military force in known space, moving to crush a primitive species that had barely learned to leave its own planet. Behind them, Earth's fleet was moving too. Thousands of improvised warships crewed by the most violent, unstable, and dangerous humans their species had ever produced. Men and women who'd spent years, sometimes decades, locked away from society. Now they were free. They were armed, and they were coming. Faxroll watched long-range sensors as the two fleets approached each other. His ships moved in perfect formation, a beautiful display of military precision perfected over millennia. The human ships moved like a swarm of insects, no formation, no pattern, just a chaotic mass of vessels moving seemingly randomly through space. "Sir," his tactical officer said, "we cannot predict their movement patterns. They have no formation." "Then we will impose order on chaos," Faxriel said, trying to sound confident. "Prepare for engagement, standard battle formation. Show these primitives how real warriors fight." His fleet moved into position, a perfect crescent designed to envelop and destroy an enemy. It had worked for 2,000 years against every opponent. The human ships didn't respond to the formation. They didn't counter it or try to break it. They just kept coming. "In range in 60 seconds, the tactical officer announced. Faxriel gripped his command chair. This was it. "Sir," the communications officer said suddenly, "we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet." "Put it through." The message was simple. 7 words spoken by a human voice that was laughing. "No rules, no mercy, no prisoners." Then the human fleet opened fire. And Faxriel realized that everything he knew about warfare was about to become completely useless. The battle lasted 7 hours. In those 7 hours, everything Commander Faxriel understood about warfare died. The human ships didn't maneuver to counter his formation. They ignored it completely. Ships broke off in 1s and 2s, accelerating at speeds that should have killed their crews. There was no pattern, no logic. "Target the lead ships," Faxriel ordered. "Fire when ready." His weapons officers opened fire. Vorkon plasma cannons lanced out at approaching human vessels. 3 ships exploded instantly. But the humans didn't slow down. They didn't retreat. Each ship moved independently, randomly, impossible to predict. More ships exploded, 10, 20, 50, but hundreds more kept coming. "They're suicide runs," his tactical officer said. "Multiple ships have set collision courses. Point defense will handle them." The point defense systems activated, filling space with projectiles. They worked perfectly, shredding incoming ships. But some got through. A human vessel, already burning and breaking apart, slammed into the destroyer Relentless Pride. The explosion tore through 3 decks. "1 ship," Faxriel said. They traded 1 ship for minor damage. Acceptable. Then 6 more damaged human ships changed course towards his fleet. Point defense destroyed 4. 2 got through. 1 hit the cruiser Eternal Vigilance, punching through forward armor. The other hit the carrier Dawn of Victory near the fighter bay. The carrier's entire front section exploded outward. "Dawn of Victory is lost," someone shouted. 3,000 crew. Faxriel stared at the display. The humans were using damaged ships as weapons, ships already dying, aimed at his fleet like missiles. "Pull back," he ordered. "Reform at 10,000 kilometers." His fleet began retreating, maintaining perfect formation. The human ships pursued, but many were too damaged to keep up. For a moment, Faxriel thought he'd gained breathing room. Then, "Sir, the damaged human ships that fell behind, they're moving again." "Moving? They were dead in space." "Yes, sir, but they're under power, heading towards us at high speed." Ships that were floating, seemingly destroyed, were suddenly active, playing dead, waiting for his fleet to retreat. How many? 47 vessels. The 47 ships accelerated hard. Too close now, point defense less effective. They spread out, each targeting a different vessel. Faxriel watched in growing horror. His fleet fired everything, destroyed 31 of the ships. 16 got through. The impacts were devastating. The ships had been filled with explosives, turned into bombs. Casualty report.
6 destroyers heavily damaged, 2 cruisers destroyed, 1 carrier hit in the reactor section. Total loss. Too close to the fleet. When it exploded, the blast caught 2 other ships. In one attack using ships he thought were already dead, the humans had destroyed or disabled a 10th of his fleet. 3 months later, Supreme Commander Faxriel stood before the Emperor's War Council. "We have lost 12 systems in 3 months, the Emperor said quietly. "Your Majesty, we have won every major engagement, and yet they hold 12 systems that were ours. Thaxriel chose his words carefully. The humans don't fight to hold territory, they fight to destroy. They attack a system, cause maximum damage, then retreat. When we pursue, they scatter. When we defend, they attack elsewhere. They're like water flowing around our defenses. Then what do you recommend? Thaxriel hesitated. What he was about to say could end his career, possibly his life. I recommend we negotiate peace. Silence filled the chamber. The supremacy has never surrendered, the Emperor said, not in 5,000 years. We are not surrendering, we are surviving. If we continue, they will deploy Tier 2, and if that's not enough, he paused, there is still Tier 3. The Emperor leaned forward. What is Tier 3? Everything Earth tried and decided was too immoral to use. Biological weapons targeting specific species, psychological warfare, viruses that rewire behavior, nanomachines that sabotage from within. Every evil experiment Earth's governments shut down, they kept the data. They put it all into Tier 3. The chamber fell silent. If they deploy Tier 3, Thaxriel said quietly, it won't just hurt our military, it will hurt our entire species, our civilians, our children, everything. The vote came 3 days later. The supremacy for the first time in 5,000 years chose peace over victory. The treaty was signed 6 weeks later. Simple terms. The Vorkhan would withdraw from disputed systems. Earth would cease offensive operations. Both would establish diplomatic relations. Neither side claimed victory. Both knew the truth. The supremacy had lost, not militarily, but they had lost nonetheless. They had blinked first. And Earth had won by being willing to go further into darkness than the Empire could stomach. As the ceremony ended, Thaxriel found himself on an observation deck. He wasn't alone. A human stood nearby, Marcus Reeves, one of the Tier 1 fighters present as security. You're not celebrating, Thaxriel observed. Reeves shrugged. Nothing to celebrate. War's over. I go back to Earth, probably back to prison eventually. They stood in silence, watching the void. Was Tier 3 real? Thaxriel asked, or a bluff? Reeves looked at him. What do you think? I think it was real. Then there's your answer. Reeves smiled, a sad smile. Would Earth have actually used it? I don't know. I really don't. But when survival's threatened, morality becomes negotiable. He paused. I'm glad you didn't make them choose. They wanted war. We gave them chaos, and chaos won. Inscription on the Frontier Force Memorial, New Haven Colony.